Oh. She got well.
Indeed.
And Ron might join us, but she'll probably not.
Indeed.
Dave's supposed to be here. Yeah.
Well, on the steps, I could see him now.
Yes, well,
Not getting any shorter.
I know. I feel like one of those little lifts in here.
Yes, praise the Lord, put that in the budget.
Don't you have one out back?
There's one on the back set of stairs, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's tested it lately.
Straps himself in and.
Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty well,
I'll get thrown down the last day, yeah.
it's pretty well a cold requirement these days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, okay, so.
Okay, it's 6:30, so I'm gonna call the planning advisory committee meeting for Wednesday, April 17th, 2024 to order. Before we begin our meeting, we'd like to acknowledge that Stewiacke is the Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and non-Sia territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Welcome to those attending the gallery and joining by Zoom. We have two regrets from Susan and Ronnie this evening. If anybody else, I don't believe. Okay, I'm looking for approval or changes to the agenda. Please, can you write your package for March 20th?
No, move the lead, accept the agenda as presented.
By Rebecca, looking for a secondary. And for second, discussion on the motion. Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Seeking disclosure of interest on agenda items. Hearing nothing, looking for approval of minutes from the planning advisory meeting, March 20th, 2024 in your package.
We don't have to.
Not in her
They're
package.
not in our package.
Everyone is passing around. Yeah. Scoop, and one more.
Give a couple minutes before I ask for that motion.
You probably gotta do the minutes again.
Hmm?
You do the minutes again.
Mhm.
Take it.
There's a chance to look at the minutes. So if there's any changes. If not, I'm looking for a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make such a motion, that we approve the minutes.
Let's make that David a second, please.
Second.
Second, Charlene. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. And move it right into business, number 6. The first is this rezoning application for 12 Queen Street. And I'll pass it over to Mr. Coe, please.
Yeah, so the document you want to look at, which has got a lot more detail than what we had in previously. Is just, it's called proposed amendments to municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw on rezoning of 12 Main. And the first part is the policy from the NPS the current NPS policy, as I'm sure you all know, is that that area.
I don't know that.
Oh, you heard that?
There.
Anybody else need a copy of it? It's,
We don't have.
I think they're on the back table, actually.
well, the main.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Pages.
Okay, the more than we need, but that's okay.
Better to have more than one, no.
Yeah. Okay, we got it now.
Okay.
Well,
So as you know, the current policy in the strategy, the planning strategy is for that section of Main Street, which is basically all residential, or 90% residential. And this policy goes back to when the planning documents were adopted back in 2010. That this area should remain as a residential area to kind of provide a buffer between highway commercial uses out near the highway and the downtown commercial uses. And, you know, there was no proposals or no reason to change that policy. Actually, the first time I heard anybody say anything about that policy was a session we had here with CBCL, and that must be probably 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, where the presenter was, you know, talking about various things in the Stewiacke planning documents and said, and mentioned that maybe it would be good to have people come down Main Street to have some commercial development. All the way along. And, you know, then we talked about that a little bit. I think Denver, you said something, well, I don't really want like a commercial strip of, you know, like you see in the miners or something. That, but he said, well, you know, you could put requirements in that made it more pleasing to see, to visually as you go down. So that got me thinking a little bit, and we even talked about it a little bit at a PAC meeting after that, but there was no proposals in this. So we didn't act on that. So then we have the proposal from, to move the cafe there, Big River Cafe. So this was a concrete proposal which served to focus our attention, if you will, on possible changes. So the first thing we have to do is to take out that policy, which is the first part of this NPS, deleting section 441 about the policy that shall remain residential. And putting in new policy, proposing a new special commercial zone to only apply to that area. And there's a couple of ways of doing it. One we're recommending is that we just zone that, the subject site that, but people will have the opportunity to come in and apply for the same thing, but it's a similar use and similar, they have to meet the requirements. So that's this new policy, that's on the second page. And then, so that's the policy to support this new zone, and the actual zone is in the land use bylaw. And it gives, you know, permitted uses in the zone, but cafes, of course, hair salons, business or professional offices, flower sales, physical therapy establishments, and uses permitted in the R2 zone, so that, you know, they continue to be residential uses, would continue to be permitted. I mean, you know, if there's any others that meet the idea is we want to have uses that don't generate a lot of traffic, that are small, that you know, they're going to be able to look like residential in appearance. So that's some more requirements on the next page, the last page, and the requirements for the zone are the same as the R2 zone. Same lot size, same required front yard, same everything. And so the residential appearance section is there. Any building which is used for commercial, either by conversion of an existing residence or by the redevelopment of residence shall have the appearance of a residence. Drive-throughs not permitted. Buffer required, a buffer of a hedge or fence sufficient to screen from the adjacent residential use of the parking lot and garbage receptacle shall be required. Restricted the size of the commercial use to 120 square meters, which is 1,291. Again, I just picked a number. We can always adjust that. And that would be exclusive of balconies. I should have put that in. That's just the building use. And then the signage, one sign of maximum size of 10.8 square feet shall be permitted and shall not be flashing or a digital sign. So those requirements in the land use bylaw are designed to, make the area, if we do get proposals to convert part or all of the building to commercial, then those requirements would kick in, and they'd have to meet those requirements in order to get a development permit. So that's kind of what is before us now. So I guess the main question is, do we want to allow some commercial development of this kind in the C3 zone to be made available in that area, starting with the application we have, which is 12 Main, but others could come after. And they should, if they're the same, they should get the rights to do it. Or do we want to keep the area, not change the policy and keep the area as residential? So I guess I don't know if anybody would like to make any comments about that, or I do have some suggested motions in another document.
I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
I don't know the difference between a flanking yard and a side yard.
Flanking yard is where there's a street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. On the buffer required, do you have to be very, I'm just asking because I've not done this before. Do you have to be very specific?
Well, I sent this to the development officer. He's going to be the one doing this,
Okay,
given the permit. And I asked him if these were too objective, if he had any issues with it. They're a little subjective. He hasn't gotten back to me yet, but he might come back and say, I need more certainty in what that means.
okay.
So there may be, there's always changes, councils will go to council if it goes at all, and then there's always opportunity to put some changes. Council can make changes, and even after a public hearing, after they hear comments, they can make changes, as long as they're not substantial. If they're too substantial, then you have to go back to square one. But something like that, just, providing a little more detail, I don't see that as substantial. And so we can make changes like that as we go forward.
Okay, just because one of my concerns is that we do say they need a hedge or a fence. But do we need to be specific and say before the business is allowed to open?
Well, it would be part of the development permit.
Okay,
So at some point, yes, they'd have to have it down. The timing can be adjusted somewhat, but usually it is before the business opens, yeah.
okay. And the other thing, and of course, I just got a thing about dumpsters. I can imagine that if the people who live around any of these places, they're not gonna want a dumpster in
Yes.
somebody's
yes,
backyard
Yes,
because of
yes.
a variety of reasons. And so a small business just needs garbage. can.
Yeah, I would think, yeah, but we
Yeah.
could make that specific, that no dumpsters.
Well, we do certainly, in other developments around some of the smaller apartment complexes. For example, Jeff in Public Works approves what they use, and so he's very that he wants a receptacles, properly sorted receptacles,
Mhm.
not dumps, similar to what was done across the street, but the receptacles are there. One of the other new buildings has done the same thing.
Okay,
Right, so that's what certainly we always put as a preference when we're talking to the developers, no, we want proper receptacles and, that don't look like a dumpster, it's.
and so there used to be a place on Riverside until a couple of years ago that was looks like a house, but it's several apartments. And they had a dumpster out front that was always overflowing and smelled. And I used to walk on the opposite side of the street and you could smell it across the street. That's my concern, is that, you know, so if you're a house and you're next door to like a little restaurant or whatever, do you want a dumpster that you're gonna smell all the time where the people in the house, you know, in the business go home at night?
And we could add that, we could add that as 948 dumpsters.
But they still require one.
What's that?
They'll still require one. I mean, where are they gonna put all their stuff?
Just in the prop, just in this, as Kevin was saying, in the proper
Receptive.
receptacles.
Not these little green ones. You're not talking about them.
You can have, there are larger type.
Yeah, I'm
Being
saying.
used, yeah,
Same as
but
the,
they're covers, the cover comes down over.
yeah, same as the apartment buildings. I mean, I got one right in my backyard from the apartment buildings, but I never smell it or anything else. And they empty it on a regular basis and the two apartment buildings use it. So,
Does that fall under residential pickup?
Yeah, for residential properties. Now, this would be a commercial, so this would not qualify for regular residential
Right.
pickup. That's scheduled around.
They would have to hire their own company.
Yeah.
Okay.
and I'm sure there's someplace up there that they could put these one big dumpsters like behind the building, someplace that wouldn't be great out in front and.
Yeah, well, I do have this garbage receptacles, will be screened. That's in section 944. Buffer consisting of a hedge or fence, this should be screened from adjacent residential uses.
Yeah.
And garbage receptacle should be defined. Maybe that's, maybe that would be good.
Well, I think in our last or previous meetings, we've already voted to have this. To do this, we made the recommendation to council, they sent it back to us for more clarification. And I think we should go ahead with it. And we had several motions.
Yeah.
And I think the first motion is the one we're after.
Yeah, that's, if you agree with the, you know, going forward with this, yeah, that's the one you would recommend, rather than the third one.
We've already agreed to go ahead.
Yeah, so this, you gotta reaffirm, we gotta reaffirm
It was
it.
the wording of the motion.
It was
I
the wording of the
misunderstood it.
Yeah.
There were several.
So this committee has already said, go ahead. So I think the first motion is the one we're after.
With that specific wording.
But I think I would end it, the motion would end Big River Cafe, period. And the next line should be another motion.
Okay, sure.
Because I think, and Rebecca can correct me, at the council meeting, there was confusion over what was being.
There was the confusion whether we were just rezoning 12 Main or whether we were rezoning the whole section.
Yeah.
Is where confusion came into play.
So I think for clarification for the council, it should be just
Mhm.
coming to.
And then you can say, after further, move that similar opportunities through the rezoning process would be available. Sure.
So period. Okay,
Do we even need to put that second part? Does that even need to be a motion? That's the question, because that.
Well, the recommendation is granted, but is that we are creating this new zone. So are you gonna create a potential, you're creating a new zone, but within the MPS? Are you saying it can only ever apply to one property?
Okay,
So you're saying we're making provision that in the future
That's right.
okay.
portion map, portion is for potential future that will be eligible to apply that. So I think it's important to be,
Yeah, I think we
That
should
is
cut that in.
there.
Yeah.
so for the record, I'd like to have someone make that motion and read that, please.
I would move. I would move the PAC recommend that council begin the process of rezoning the property 12 Main Street. The new C3 zone to accommodate the relocation of the Big River Cafe.
Second,
I'll second that.
second Denver. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question.
Question as McCall, all in favor.
Uh,
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. So we have a second also. Yeah, a second motion? Yeah, okay. So for a second motion on that.
On the future rezonings, I said, further, I move that the zone should be made available through other properties in the area through a rezoning process.
Second by Deborah.
Moved up.
Actually,
Grant can move.
Grant can't move us. We'll have to have-
I'll move.
Moved by David, second by Deborah. Everybody okay with that? Okay. Discussion on the motion?
Questions?
Questions, Nicole? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you, folks.
And we'll make the last, Rebecca. You think everybody's gonna be happy now at the council meeting?
Well, they have the right to what, I don't know, that's so.
It should make the job harder.
This is the process, this common to every municipality, so. Okay, the next, so do that.
We'll go back to six B, on business, Perry Lake zone, went back to you, Brad.
This is, I have draft on there, they need to cross off the draft, this is, I should have taken that out. So Perry Lake, I think you're all kind of familiar with the Perry Lake. Development. It started way back in 2007. There was a concept plan that had a number of phases in it. We even had a public meeting. This was before the 2010 planning documents were adopted. We had a public meeting, which was well attended. And everybody seemed pretty happy with everything, the way it was going. There wasn't much development in Stewiacke back then. And so council incorporated the first phase of the residential and the first phase of the commercial into the planning documents, because these were the areas that were serviced. The phase three, what we call phase three, which is the one before us tonight, was quite a ways away. It wasn't near any services. I mean, the services were still on Main Street back then. And the first phase of the commercial was approved. So years go by. The phase one, whatever it was called, gets developed. It was basically, for the most part, R2 uses, single family. I don't think there's any doubles there, as far as I know, there's no doubles. There might be some apartments, but anyway. And they did ask, and as part of that first phase, they asked for 2 sites to be pre-zoned, if you want to call it that, to the R3B zone, because there was proposal to put a big tall building up there. Or that was the idea back then. So that's what we did, because again, it was part of this first phase and that got adopted by council. And now again, as years go by now, Perry Lake's ready to do phase 3 of residential, and they've already done the second phase of the commercial, which was approved. The tentative plan for that was already approved. Way back in the 2010 documents, we talked about this before, the documents were adopted. When the mapping was done, and you gotta remember, this area was just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Instead of it being designated residential, and it would have been zoned R4 because there was no services, it inadvertently got zoned commercial. And we did have a meeting, Kevin noticed with the motion a couple of years ago, that we agreed to, we correct that. And I didn't take it any further right away, because I was in the back of my mind thinking, well, this is kind of almost like a mapping error. Maybe we'll put it on with another amendment, so we, efficiency, we'll do both at once. No other amendments came forward until this one. So Perry Lake submits the tentative plan. And shows lots that have a number of residential R2 uses and a number of multi-unit uses. And my first thought with that, and we was subject to I think maybe our last PAC meeting was, the policy's already in place to designate and zone designated service residential, because I think we can consider that when the tentative plan gets submitted, it's pretty serious indication that it's gonna be serviced. They're gonna follow through with it. There's a lot of money involved in preparing engineering plans, and they're all reviewed. Took quite a while because there's a few issues with stormwater drainage. But anyway, I think that's all ironed out. So the current policy was, let's just use the R2 zone. It's gonna be serviced, so the NPS says anything that's serviced shall go in the service residential zone. And then further policy is people can rezone to the R3B zone as, you know, as it happens, as proposals come up. Could be years away. Now Perry Lake, at first I thought they were happy with that, actually. I didn't hear anything back. We passed the motion at the last PAC meeting to go this way. And then just before the council meeting, Perry Lakes indicated, no, they were not happy with this zone. They didn't want this zone. They thought the 2007 concept plan that showed these multi-unit residential lots should be followed. And you know, we're pretty insistent. So Kevin and I had another look at it. And one of the concerns with doing it that way was the capacity of the water system. So through emails with Perry Lake, we identified that concern and got back that they understood that concern. They would be happy to work with the town, so not to jeopardize the water system. And they almost called, they called it a like a 10 to 12 year building. Well, 10 to 12 years is quite a while. Surely we'll have a new water system by then. So we said, okay, let's abide by what the 2007 plan, you know, it's questionable whether we have to abide by it, but let's, you know, since we got kind of the insurance about the water, let's do it that, let's pre-zone that, which has got a couple of advantages actually, which is in the report. Maybe I'll leave it a little bit about that. As you all may be aware, the federal government is really pushing high density. And almost unless you have high density opportunities, you're not getting any funding from them. And there's a number of municipalities that have already missed out. I think Charlottetown is one of them. They didn't want to change. Summerside did. Summerside changed. They got the money. So that's one key point actually. And the other is that, you know, having this kind of plan kind of approved, it kind of sets the tone for people can look at it and they know what to expect. So if I buy a single family lot in there, I can look at the zoning and say, oh, well, there could be R3B next to me. Then I make the decision whether or not I want to go there. And it's not all, most of the development actually is townhouses, which still falls under multifamily. Anything more than 3 is more than multifamily. So Kevin and I are recommending that council or the PAC recommend that zone that's based on it's a pretty rough drawing. It's on the back of the motion. It's a pretty rough drawing of the, I just took the plan they submitted and I just hand lettered in R2 for their R2 lots and R3B for their multifamily lots. We're working on a better plan to take the council. This doesn't look very,
Beauty here.
it doesn't look very professional. And Randy's has done some mapping and I think she'll be able to refine this and make it look a little more.
I thought we could show where the current 24 unit is, that it's already a R3B.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. That's a good point. Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, that's right. Again, that has got a little mistake in it that it should be already.
that's in the corner of the street,
Yeah,
just down from the corner.
show the current. I think she can do that.
I think that is zone R3.
I think it is, yeah. I'm sure it is, actually, I looked it up.
Hope it is.
Yeah, it is, yeah. No, I
Late now.
looked it up, it is, yeah, it is. Anyway, that's what we're proposing, and if there's any questions or comments or concerns or. And then again, we have I think it suggests a motion for that one somewhere.
You have a recommendation, but
So
Yeah.
it's on the same page.
Oh, it's on the same page, yeah, yes, flip side of that, yeah. Yeah, the recommendation is there for us, but the Perry Lake rezoning is the last recommendation there. I move that PAC recommend the council begin the process, and Kevin was beginning the process of giving it first reading, which is kind of the way we always worded it. I don't know how you'd begin the process any other way, actually.
Yeah, but just so people
Yeah.
are clear what we, at the committee level, want to make sure you're clear that
Yeah.
the beginning of the process.
First reading.
Yeah,
and that recommendation should also probably say Perry Lake Development. It doesn't say that, but.
Yeah, we could put that in there,
Well.
yeah.
Because the area shown isn't part of the actual motion. Yeah, so,
The land that we're dealing with is,
but should have a bid number.
Yeah, yeah, we can put that in.
where you wouldn't have a big number for that big chunk.
You could put, yeah,
Well, you could say a portion of, it's a portion of a larger bid, yeah, as shown on.
Yeah, they probably already,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you don't need it, but, yeah, you don't need it, but we could put it in if you want, to accommodate Perry Lake Phase 3, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
They may think that it's Denver Levy's phase 3.
Well, the area on the map shows it. So there's no question you can track it down,
Lots of maps attached.
as long as the map's attached.
And you have a magnifying glass. And somewhere it should say Perry Lake Development, but
Yeah.
the map doesn't.
Yeah.
So I think maybe you better.
Yeah, sure, that doesn't hurt, you know, just add in to accommodate Perry Lake Development's Phase 3. And that will enable the approval of the tentative plan to proceed, and you can start his, yeah, we can start his, I don't know when he wants to start, I think he wants to start sometime this year, but
We'll have to change on our future land map too.
that's right, that's why we gotta do the July future land use plan to make it service residential. And then, the zoning map to make it a combination of the R2 and the R3B.
Okay, any more discussion before I ask for that motion? Deborah, can I ask you if you bring a motion with that wording?
You are.
Yes, sir.
He got it wrote out.
Well, I would just add, I would just read it saying, and just say after service residential. Or. Maybe right at the end, you could say to accommodate. Yeah, right at the end, to accommodate Perry Lake Development, paid Phase 3. Just add that to the end of it.
Rebecca, on your shot.
I move the PAC recommend the council begin the process, first reading of amending generalized future land use map of the MPS by redesignating the area shown on the attached to service residential. And by rezoning part of this area as the general residential R2 and the other part multiple mid-rise residential R3B as shown on the attached to accommodate Perry Lake Development Phase 3.
Moved by Rebecca. Seconder, Denver. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Mr. Number 6C, and that's the development proposal verification.
Yeah, it's the green one. And I think everybody's familiar where Garden Gate is, or do you?
No, that was gonna be my first question, and so where is it?
Well, It's, you know, where the, trailers are and
Pine Acres.
Pine Acres and,
On the other side of the highway.
yeah,
Oh, okay,
so you just go up, but it's right at the end.
okay.
And you can almost see the drawings got some, I'm not sure, those must be the trailers, and I think the prefab housing is up further up there.
Yeah, there in the
Yeah,
underlying
yeah,
photograph.
yeah.
We hardly ever think about the other side of the highway.
Well, I know, but it's the important part of the town.
It's up there.
Yeah, anyway, so we got this as a preliminary, kind of a preliminary proposal, some months ago, I guess. And I took a look at it. And one of the issues I saw was, there's no public street up there. Public street, if you look at the cul-de-sac, that's towards the bottom of the page, that's kind of the cul-de-sac circle. That is the end of the public street. So to do a straight rezoning to R3B, we're gonna run into issues. There's criteria that would come into effect about traffic and also not only traffic or public road, it's also, there's no services really up there either. These places that are on there are just serviced by long laterals, as far as I can tell. And Jeff did have a quick look at it. He said, yeah, we might even have to beef up our infrastructure on our public street in order to accommodate such a large development, 4 buildings. I think there's over 200 units there. So what I got thinking about, I said, this would be a good proposal for a development agreement. And now that we have a qualified development officer in Jason Fox from Truro, who has done any number of development agreements, and he would be a great help in developing the policy and the criteria through which a proposal through the development agreement process would be entertained. So what would happen, so first thing, council, if they agree, BAC agrees, we have to put the policy in the MPS we don't have any policy in any development agreements right now. We've shied away from them, mainly because we didn't have any expertise in them, but now we do. So that would be the first, and it wouldn't be for just this, it could be for other similar developments as well. And it doesn't really matter about the zone, because the policy would be, irrespective of the zone, you are gonna entertain proposals for development agreement, and here are the criteria. And here's what we'll go by. It almost completely bypasses the land use bylaw. Development agreements almost, the only thing you have to put in the land use bylaw is identify the areas, identify the proposals, the development proposals that will go by development agreement. So we'd have to put in the land use bylaw that developments such as this must go by development agreement sort of thing. And then once the criteria is approved and the policy is approved, this proposal could come forward as an application. And the way that usually works is, that everybody knows what the criteria is, it's public, and they will present a plan. And the criteria could be something like, policy could be all residential, or it could be a combination of residential and commercial. Or even other uses if that was proposed. And the nice thing about the development agreement too is you can address improving streets through it. So, one of the concerns understandably was, well, if I go and I'll spend all the money of upgrading the services and the streets, I'm not guaranteed I'm gonna get my proposal approved. Well, you can be assured of that through development agreement, because it's approved by council, it's registered in the registry of deeds, and it's a legal document. And it can even have in the development agreement, it usually has timelines for construction. So the street's gotta be done by this time, at which time, and if the proposal is approved, then the construction can start and be finished by this time, or at least be done by this time. And that's all part of it's almost like a negotiation between the developer and the development officer. And council does have the final word of it. It can go to a public meeting, and it has to go to a public hearing for sure. And it can go to a public meeting if people think that would be good. And by this time, the proposal is solidified. You see the site plan showing all the buildings, you see when the street's gonna be improved. And it is a good tool. I wouldn't use it for everything, but developments like this it's kind of suited to it for sure. So at this point, Jason and I haven't got around to start developing a policy. I'm hoping to get a meeting with him. He knows about it. I sent him this, and he knows about it. He said, yeah, we had a little meeting, Kevin and I and him. He came in by Zoom on some other matters, and we did talk about it a little bit. I said, I understand that you can deal with streets, proposed streets in the development thing. And he said, yeah, oh yeah, I guess they do it from time to time. He said, yeah, no, there's authority to do that, and he could help with developing that policy. So really tonight, I'm just looking for, I don't know, just let you know if there's any strong objection, I will carry it with Jason to develop this policy, and we'll bring it back hopefully at the next PAC meeting. So you can look at it in a little more detail. And then decide whether or not you want to recommend it to council. So I don't even need a motion for that. We kind of do things in the past just by consensus, I guess. When it's not.
Go ahead, Vernon. Wayne, do you want to go ahead?
They're giving approval.
So are we concerned yet again, when we brought it up about water?
Well, yeah, that would be part of the process. That would be part of the process, yeah.
Because I see it's in several phases. right?
Yeah. And that might be, that'd be part of the development agreement. Only one building goes so first. And after so many years, the second building, that would be all part of the, that would be part of the criteria that the development officer would have beforehand in order to approve it.
And again, it's kind of we get in that, are we putting the cart before the horse? Now, I understand the concept, but just the way they worded their latest announcements for funding of housing, how to access this, they're basically saying no municipality's getting this unless they're showing their support. Like they're trying to even force it down that you'll let fourplexes go in an R1.
Well, and Halifax is almost
Is it
doing it.
funded for everything? Like, are we thinking that?
Well,
we
they
get funding that can go towards our water? Is that?
Well,
kind of the
that's
thought?
that's
The plan.
the hope that some of this, they're calling it an infrastructure program to support housing. And so the hope is, okay, well, here's this, all right, there's all kinds of developers willing
Yeah,
to go density in Stewiacke.
yeah,
So this is a great place to put leverage with the feds in the province and saying, get on board, folks, because we got people ready,
ready to go.
wanna go. As soon as we can have water for them, so give us money to get our water plant.
Right.
Upgrade it so we can go.
Yeah. But yeah, this is something the same as the Perry Lake, even more so maybe, because more immediate.
There's probably gonna be more and more developments like this, so.
And so I heard that Fredericton changed their bylaws that you can put an apartment building pretty well anywhere. in Fredericton, as of right. Don't need to do any rezoning or anything. That's how desperate they are to get federal money.
Oh, federal money.
Yeah, to get, get their services upgraded.
I think every should the same.
Could be. And we'll have a talk about other aspects of our strategy along those lines as well, in future meetings, but right now, just focus on this. There's, between that and Perry Lake, there's a lot of residential units ready to go if we can get the money to, get the services upgraded.
Well, it makes sense to put them in a place like Perry Lake or over where there's already different kinds of housing, but it makes no sense to think you're gonna put an apartment building across the street in a residential, like a 6-story apartment.
Well, there'd be a
building.
lot of opposition to that.
There'd be a lot of pushback.
That is the beauty, that is the nice thing about these two, yeah.
The hope there is yours.
Okay,
The only hope there is yours.
yeah, well, yeah. Blame.
Anyway, I don't really need, I guess everybody seems to be on board with it, I don't need a motion for that, we'll need the motion next meeting when there's more concrete proposal.
So you'll bring the.
Yeah. I'll hopefully get the meeting with Jason, he's busy. He's gradually being drawn in, isn't he?
Yeah,
but he's busy. He's got another job, as he says, he's a planner for Truro. But I'm hoping to get
yeah.
like a good meeting with him in the next couple of
He can
weeks.
explain the pitfalls and what
Yeah.
to do, here's the examples.
Yeah.
Policy, and we can build on
Yeah.
it. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel, that's the trick, right?
Yeah.
It's going from scratch is no fun.
No.
Any other items on the agenda for tonight? Moving forward. Okay, so next meeting is May 15th, is that correct?
Is that the third Wednesday?
Already.
Oh, I'm flying.
I keep thinking it's April 2nd and 3rd.
So,
Obviously, that's me. Okay, so, there's no more discussion, no more items on the agenda. At 7:15, we are adjourned. Mr. Cross, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Excellent.
And May 15th to be here before you know it.
I was almost ready here.
You have a second? Just like you eat that. The face thing, figure it out.
All stuff about property.
Right.
I'm sure. It's fascinating. Are you on?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank God for being around here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I know, good.
I have no idea.
I was aware.
I bet 40.
That's my point.
Well, that's the thought. Location and.
Nice.
And she said, pretty much this, I was.